Next on Worcester News Tonight, local workers claiming they were victims of payroll fraud while working on a Worcester construction project. Details are next. Plus, a Worcester landmark lighting up red tonight for the American Red Cross on Giving Day. For joining us tonight, I'm Catherine Andrioli. A New Jersey contractor is facing scrutiny after local carpenters claim they were victims of payroll fraud while working on Worcester's City Square apartment project. Now the Worcester Carpenters Union is working to help those employees recover their lost wages. The union says 3 carpenters previously employed by New Jersey-based contractor P&B Partitions have filed wage complaints with the Attorney General's office. They claim they were paid for overtime hours in cash and at less than the rate required by state law. The $90 million construction project will include 365 apartment units. Union organizer David Misayan says this problem happens all too often.
This practice keeps happening. We do everything we can to make sure that these workers get paid. But it's really a good example of why the middle class is struggling, why working people are having a hard time getting ahead. We've been having weekly rallies. We've been trying to get the community involved and elected officials just to kind of shine the light on this issue so people know what's happening.
Under federal and state law, wage and hour laws, employers must pay blue-collar workers performing manual labor time and a half for their regular rate for all hours worked over 40 per week. The Carpenters Union says they are planning a rally in May. Mechanics Hall and the Kenneth F. Burns Memorial Bridge lighting up red tonight, supporting the American Red Cross of Central Massachusetts. Today is Giving Day, recognized nationwide by the organization. The initiative aims to gain support from communities. And tonight in Worcester, landmarks lit up to red to support for the American Red Cross of Central Massachusetts. Executive Director Kim Gillette says this day brings awareness to how much aid the organization brings to communities in need.
We had almost 100 incidents last fiscal year, which helped almost 600 people. So it means a lot. You know, partnering with our other businesses throughout Worcester and having them support our efforts and our mission just by lighting up, that just kind of brings the whole community together. So now everybody knows that, you know, that they're supporting the mission of the Red Cross.
The American Red Cross says they also use social media on Giving Day. You can provide help to families in need and make an impact using the hashtag #HelpOneFamily and visiting redcross.org to learn more information. The lawyer of an inmate and friend of Aaron Hernandez trying to set the record straight. The lawyer for Kyle Kennedy of Uxbridge says before committing suicide, Hernandez left a note for his client. He says Kennedy may have been the last person to see Hernandez alive. Rosalind Flaherty has the story.
Attorney Larry Army Jr. says his client, Kyle Kennedy, believes one of the suicide notes left by Aaron Hernandez was meant for him.
This is coming from his own knowledge of the relationship that he and Aaron had shared.
Army says the two were close friends and spent a great deal of time together in prison, even requesting to be cellmates in September of 2016. Army says Kennedy was shocked by Hernandez's alleged suicide, even after Army says the former Patriot wrote his client a note a few weeks before saying, "I think I'm going to hang it up, LOL."
My client, quite frankly, told me that he thought it was a joke, that he thought that the people in the jail were playing a game on him because they knew of the closeness of the relationship between the two.
Kennedy also claims Hernandez intended to give him this $47,000 watch.
Obviously, while in jail, my client was not able to receive this gift, but Aaron had told him that arrangements would be made for that gift to be sent to him when he was on the outside, or alternatively, from a member of his inner circle to be delivered to my client's family.
Army wouldn't comment on whether Kennedy had a romantic relationship with Hernandez, saying his client would address it in his own words in the future. But Army read one of Hernandez's letters to Kennedy's father, where he calls the 22-year-old by the name Pure.
Mr. Kennedy, it's Aaron. I'm writing to you and Pure doesn't know. I wrote to him just to let him know that I wrote to you out of respect for him. He's my brother, and he always will be.
Hernandez's lawyer, Jose Baez, released a statement Tuesday reading, in part, "These are malicious leaks used to tarnish someone who is dead. Notwithstanding my unambiguous statement that there was no such letters, representatives on behalf of an individual named Kyle Kennedy."
We've heard that the letter is written and parts of it may be incoherent. My client believes that that might be because the letter was written in accordance with the language typically used behind the walls of a jail.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
A special ceremony honoring public employees in Worcester tonight at Assumption College. The Research Bureau recognized 4 employees of the city of Worcester for their public service. 2 City Hall employees, a Worcester Voc teacher, and a Public Works employee were among those honored. Each were recipients of the Thomas S. Green Award, which is established in memory of one of the founders of the Research Bureau. Executive Director Timothy Gerthy says many people in the region were nominated, but these 4 individuals were elected for their exemplary dedication to public service.
People who come in, they do their job with enthusiasm, they go the extra mile in order to get something done, in order to make sure that the public is served, that their students are served, really kind of illustrate a commitment to the job as a vocation, as opposed to simply a place to work. It's something they really care about and want to do the best at.
And each recipient was also recognized by the Senate. They will receive a commendation from the Massachusetts House and Senate. An overwhelming smell caused by antifreeze forced the Richard Suggan Library in Spencer to evacuate Wednesday morning. Spencer Fire Chief Robert Parsons says the state's Hazmat team was called in to investigate. Teams used meters to determine where the smell was coming from. The library's director says she had noticed the odor the past few days, but when some of her employees started to feel sick, she knew she needed to call for help.
It's always a concern when it's affecting people's health, so I want to make sure that it's a safe place to be.
The room is closed off. It's been segregated from the rest of the building. As soon as you open the door, it's an overwhelming antifreeze type smell.
Chief Parsons says a leaking heating unit was the cause of the smell. Crews pulled it apart to discover it was leaking antifreeze. He says there was no danger to the public. Police in Barrie describe a scary situation after a bobcat attacked them at home. This after the animal attacked 2 dogs. Our Cam Jandro spoke to the officers today and has the story.
I mean, it was like something out of a movie. I couldn't believe it.
Barrie Police Department responded to a home on Lane Road Tuesday after reports of a bobcat attack. Police say the animal was clawing and biting 2 dogs before it turned on officers.
I notified the chief, who was standing next to me, that it had just come out. I could see it, and it took a few steps towards me, and then it turned towards the chief and just bolted directly at him, and it was on him in a flash. I was amazed at how fast it was.
The bobcat then jumped nearly 6 feet in the air before Chief John Carbone pulled out his firearm and shot the animal. Barrie Police Department posted this photo of the cat. Sergeant Recos says killing the bobcat was necessary.
The decision was made in a matter of seconds, and the decision was officer safety at that point. It was in the air, it was snarling, it had its claws out, and it was either get bit or put it down.
Laura Pease has been an animal control officer for 12 years. She says the aggressive behavior from the cat led her to believe it was sick. They also found porcupine quills on the animal that led officers to believe it had rabies.
Over the 12 years I've worked as an animal control officer, every animal that I've had to send in for rabies testing that had porcupine quills in its face came back positive for rabies.
Police say neither officers were hurt during the incident, and both dogs are expected to be okay after a 45-day quarantine period. Cam Jandro, Worcester News Tonight.
A sad story out of North Brookfield. A 2-alarm fire destroys a family's barn, and inside more than 30 animals were killed. Our Olivia Lemon has the story.
There's nothing I could do to get them.
There is nothing left of the barn where Acadia Ballard kept her animals. The North Brookfield woman says they were all killed early Wednesday morning by a fire.
I got my phone, I ran upstairs, told my dad. 911, was called, they came.
North Brookfield Fire Chief Brad Gannon says as he was driving to the fire, he could see the building was fully engulfed in flames.
And as I got closer, I could see the glow, so at that time I called in my mutual aid.
Chief Gannon says one of his biggest concerns was the fire was going to spread to the house, which is only 50 feet away.
Police got everybody out. Before I got there, they were outside.
Ballard says her husband had just finished building the barn last September, which housed 35 animals, including chickens, goats, and ducks.
So he wanted to build me something for them to live in, a barn. So he built me the barn. There was a little storage up above.
It was a total loss on the building, and he was just in the process of It just had been built, and he was going to side it coming up.
Ballard and her husband lost 2 goats, 2 ducks, and about 30 chickens. Now she says they are left picking up the pieces.
We've got a lot to think about.
Olivia Lemon,